Am I wrong for how I reacted to my wife's pregnancy announcement? My wife, female 26, and I, 30 male, decided to start having kids. We've been trying for over 9 months and nothing happened. We were told to be patient, but I couldn't help but stressing out about a problem that's preventing us from conceiving. The issue is that my wife kept joking about this matter and pranked me twice by lying to me saying she was pregnant. The first was when I was at work and she sent a text telling me she was pregnant. I was so happy I came home and brought stuff with me to celebrate, only to find her laughing in my face saying it was a prank. Second time she told me she was pregnant, she was recording my reaction during and after the prank. Again laughing, telling me it was a prank, but this time she shared the video with her family. I told her I didn't appreciate how she laughs about a serious matter, then having me believe it was true only to ruin my happiness. She stopped for 2 months. Last night we were at my parents' house sitting having dinner when she said she had a gift for me. She had my sister go bring a small teddy bear with a note on it and gave it to me. I was nervous and worried about her pulling some of her pranks on me in front of my family. I read the note that the teddy bear had on it and it said that I was going to be a dad. I looked at my wife and she smiled at me and congratulated me saying she was pregnant. I saw red completely. I got up from my seat and tossed a piece of paper on the table and just snapped, telling her to stop making fun of something so serious and sensitive. I told her I was done with her lack of respect and sympathy for the most important thing that I've been struggling with, and to include my parents in her prank was too low. My wife excused herself to the bathroom. My mom and dad were unaware of what was happening. They literally paused and asked what the hell is wrong with me. My sister said my wife was actually pregnant and just confirmed by tests that she's seen with her own eyes. I felt both happy and devastated because I thought she was pulling the same prank again and I got fed up with it. My wife got mad and argued with me in the car, saying I ruined her joy and made her look awful in front of my family, as well as lashing out on her as my reaction to the happy news. She said she told me in front of my parents to show me she was serious this time. She had her mom call to berate me and said her poor daughter will suffer with my boorish behavior and lack of respect for her. My wife has been giving me the cold shoulder ever since. So, am I the asshole here? This is like, what is that story called? That fairy tale? The dude with he kept saying something to the villagers and the villagers kept coming and the boy who cried wolf. This is literally the boy who cried wolf.
I have a friend named Paul that has been my 26 roommate for a little over a year now. We've been good friends since college and we've also maintained our friend group from college as well. Recently, I started to notice something odd. My underwear has been frequently disappearing and reappearing in my drawer. At first, I didn't notice anything, but occasionally I would notice that some pairs that were supposed to be clean had a strange smell. I started to get really suspicious after a while, especially after I brought it up to Paul and he just shrugged me off at first, but I started getting really weird vibes after some arguing back and forth, and Paul finally admitted very reluctantly to the truth. Apparently, Paul has been stealing my underwear, wearing them, and putting them back in the drawer, with what I'm assuming is the hope that I end up wearing them too. When I found this out, my skin crawled. I'm honestly a very open-minded person and I wouldn't have a problem with Paul wearing women's underwear if they weren't mine, and he also confessed that he had been doing it for months. I felt so violated by this and I told him that he would have to leave immediately. Luckily, he agreed and left that night and has been crashing on a work friend's couch while he looks for a new place. He said that he was really embarrassed and understood why I was no longer comfortable being friends with him. The only thing that he requested was I not tell our mutual friends. But I couldn't not tell him, considering they were all wondering why Paul had to leave so suddenly and why we weren't friends anymore. They knew something had gone down, and when they asked, I just told them because I honestly needed support about the whole thing, and I also knew there was no way I would be able to keep hanging out in the group if Paul was going to be there. Everyone was really shocked and understood my decision. Paul confronted me over text about it, telling me that I was wrong to share his kink with the whole group and that it was his private information. But I told him that I was allowed to tell my friends about how his actions affected me, considering he went against my privacy and violated not only my trust but also my person. Am I the asshole for telling my friend group about another friend's kink so they would also stop being friends with him?
Am I the asshole for cutting off my jealous mom? When I was going through puberty, my mom started comparing my body to hers. She would say things like, you know what, it's okay that you're not developing as quickly as I did. Or that her boobs were already much bigger than mine were when I was 14. Here's a little backstory on my family. My mom has always been extremely dramatic and I think toxic. I feel bad calling her toxic. On the other hand, I have a great relationship with my dad. And my 2 siblings are both guys, so they don't have the same experience I did with my mom. My dad always acted as a buffer between me and my mom, even though my mom was the one that was starting all the fights. When I got into high school, I realized how attractive I was. Honestly, I had no clue that I was even a pretty girl. Looking back now, I realized that my mom really did make me feel like I was less than. When I started getting attention from boys in high school, I was really happy. I finally felt like I was seen. And because my mom wasn't there, I was able to thrive. Whereas in my house, I would even dress down in front of my mom just so that she wouldn't get jealous of me. The first time I brought a boy over to our house, my mom totally flipped out. She said that I was acting like an SLUT, but really, this boy was only a friend. My dad, thank God, told her that she needed to relax and that I was allowed to have friends. Eventually, I started dating a boy behind my mom's back. I did tell my dad though. My dad was actually happy for me. This boyfriend was like my best friend. I could tell him everything and he always responded really positively and gave me really good advice about my mom. But one day, one of my brothers let it slip that I had a boyfriend. My mom punished me for an entire month. My dad tried to intervene, but my mom went crazy. Here's the thing. She made me break up with him and then I caught her flirting with him. Part 2 is up. Am I the asshole for cutting off my jealous mom? When I caught her flirting with my now ex, who she made me break up with, I pretended like I didn't hear her. But she was flirting with him. She told him that he had really good muscles and that he looked a lot older than he was. Thank God, my ex didn't respond and went home. Afterwards, I confronted my mom and told her that I overheard the conversation. She told me that I was being a snob. I didn't talk to her for about 3 days. On the third day, she came crying to my room. She wanted us to make up. So she decided to take me shopping at the mall. And being the toxic person that she is, she managed to make everything about her. Tried on a bunch of clothes, which actually did look really good on her. Oh, by the way, my mom was a model back in the 90s, so she's kind of stuck in that mindset. She thinks she's the most beautiful person. She thinks she's the best. Anyway, when it was my turn to try on some clothes, she said that I looked a little too tubby, that I should maybe lose a few pounds. I told her that she hurt my feelings and she instantly apologized. Our relationship kept going like this up until I was 18. When I finally moved away for college, I was the happiest I'd ever been. Being away from my mom was like a breath of fresh air. But of course, it never stopped. My mom decided to come visit me to college and I knew that I needed to be prepared for that. When she came over to my dorm, I made sure it was super clean. Also, my grades were super good and I basically had a few friends but no boyfriend. When she came over to my apartment, she was like, "Oh, it's so simple." I was like, "What do you mean?" She said that I needed to decorate and show my personality more. She stayed with me for a total of 3 days and the whole time I was grinding my teeth. When she finally left, I was happy again. Then my dad came to visit. Hanging out with my dad was the best. Took me shopping for my apartment and made me feel so at home. My mom got jealous. Part 3 is Am I the asshole for cutting off my jealous mom? Disclaimers are not my story time, it's on Instagram. Then she somehow managed to get jealous that my dad and I were getting along super well. She called my dad while my dad was visiting me and threw a tantrum about how she needed him to go home. So my dad cut his trip short just to go be with my insecure mother. After that, I really didn't speak to my mom for about 2 months. I couldn't believe that she always managed to make me feel less than. And somehow she always made everything about her. I reached out to my brothers and asked them if they ever felt the same about my mom, and they said no. My mom was totally different with them. She took care of them and doted on them. Probably because they're boys and not me, because I'm a girl. One day I decided to call my grandmother and I told her everything. That's when my grandma told me that my mom has always been that way and that I just shouldn't take it personally. Apparently when my mom was growing up, she did not have any girlfriends. She always liked staying away from other women to not have any competition. But I told my grandma that she's my mom and that she shouldn't see me as competition. Grandma suspects that something is wrong with my mom, so, I don't know if she's bipolar or something, but obviously I can't diagnose her. Thankfully, I have other women in my life, my grandma and 2 of my aunts. They act like my mom's more than my own mother. When I graduated college, I was actually engaged. My fiance and I bought a house and we started planning our wedding. And of course, my mom wanted to help me plan it. I really didn't want this, but I decided to give her a chance. But once again, she managed to make everything about her. The entire time, she criticized my choices, even my wedding dress, which I absolutely loved, and it really did look good on me. She told me I needed to wear something more flattering. And then she ended up wearing my wedding dress in a different color. After the wedding, I decided to tell my dad and my brothers that I was going to cut my mom off. My dad begged me not to, but I still went ahead and did it. I called my mom and told her that I needed some time apart from her and that I did not want her calling me. Of course, she pretended like she had never done anything wrong in my life and that she's only been the perfect dedicated mother that she wishes she could be. Instead of arguing with her, I told her to just give me some space. She agreed to it and I haven't spoken to her in about 3 months. My dad and grandma keep begging me to talk to her. I don't think my mom is sad at all. She's always posting to her Instagram. She goes to Pilates, brunch with her friends, and travels with my dad. I think she's probably fine, but what should I do?
Am I the asshole for saying my sister was being a terrible parent and feeding her daughter even though she told me not to? So recently, my 22 male sister, 27 female, asked me to babysit her 5-year-old daughter. I said yes, however, when I came to her house, she told me that I wasn't allowed to give her lunch. I asked why, and she told me it's setting habits for the future so her daughter can have a beautiful, slender figure. She also said it's part of her own beauty program so she doesn't become overweight. I told her it was ridiculous to not allow a 5-year-old to have lunch, and she said whatever and left. After 3 hours, her daughter said she was very hungry and there was 2 to 3 hours until my sister came back. So, I gave her lunch. Am I the asshole for saying my sister was being a terrible parent and feeding her daughter even though she told me not to? I gave Zoe an apple and made her a sandwich to keep her happy because it didn't feel right to leave her hungry like that. When my sister got back, I told her Zoe was hungry, so I gave her some food to eat and that I had only gave her an apple and a sandwich. She was irritated and said I knew what she requested, but purposely did this to wind her up. I told her she was being a terrible parent by refusing to give her daughter lunch. This made my sister even more angry, and she said it was her parenting style, and that she only wants what's best for her daughter and I have no say. Eventually, she started shouting and made me leave. Am I the asshole?